Mr. Marek, thank you for attending SES. You have been in your posting for now, how many? 2 years. So would you please introduce yourself to the audience, your professional CV, and how did you come here?
Thanks, Peter. First of all, actually, I would like to thank you for an invitation, and especially how in such a short time you've been able to transform this event, let's say, for the online one, because I strongly believe there is a bright future for aviation in this wider region, and the events like this definitely should be happening. So it's congratulations and thanks for that.
Thank you.
So back to your question. Actually, people always have a bit difficulties when they see my name. First, how to pronounce it and where the hell is coming from, that name. So I'm born Czech. However, like my professional career, more than 20 years in aviation, multiple regional and global airlines. Name it few. I was chief commercial in Czech Airlines, running privatization to the Korean Air. I was part of the team in LOT Polish, which turned airline to the profitability and designed the growth strategy. And immediately before Air Serbia, I was running alliances as a VP and smart revenue in Alitalia. And that was a period where I was early 2019 approached by Air Serbia if I would like to join here and basically start commercial transformation, design the strategy, 5 years plan, and basically transform the airline into what you observe last 2 years is happening.
2019 was an impressive year for Air Serbia's one of maybe its third commercial iterations in the business development sense, as long as I've been following it, and the figures were incredible compared to the past. So can we go back before COVID, the snapshot of the activities, one of the most extensive route expandings that you undertook? How was everything back in 2019?
Look, thanks for that question. I mean, looking back, I would say we can proudly tell that for us it was really kind of revolution. But in a way, it was inevitable because you are on a market which is constantly growing in terms of the air travel. You have the low-cost carriers which are constantly expanding in the region. So it was basically inevitable you had to change. You had to change your commercial strategy. You have to change your overall strategy in terms of the network and plan. Otherwise, you will not secure yourself a sustainable future. So what I can tell proudly is that we've been able to do it in a very short time. We started in early 2019, and since Q3, we had really double-digit results, gross in every single KPI, meaning passenger numbers, load factor, revenue, RASK, name it. And we ended the year as a record year, and that was, let's say, great entry ticket into 2020, where we had the ambition plans, opening 6 new destinations. Q1, we actually deliver our targets. We grow passenger over 25% and the revenue. But all we know what happened after, and the COVID came. So
to follow on that, could you take us behind the scenes when it happened? You and I actually met when we canceled our 2020 March conference. So what were the most challenging things, and then the comeback that was initiated somewhere in the middle of last year?
Look, I mean, looking back, actually, it's like you feel that at that moment, from one day to the other, you step on the fast-speed train, and that train never stopped. Basically, since that day, you are extremely busy, constantly changing your plans, managing your day-to-day activities, because the demand is so much fluctuating these days because of all the travel restriction. But immediately in March, in that period, no one expected that it will lead to complete shutdown of the European aviation. It was really sad week when one country by the other were starting to introduce the flight bans, travel restriction, and it really came as a domino effect that within 1 week, the whole aviation in Europe stopped, including us, because you cannot fly if the flight bans are in place. However, we stopped only scheduled flying. We never really stopped flying because you just change your duty. We became at the beginning, basically, kind of rescue team, because we perform a lot of repatriation flight. We help more than 10,000 Serbian and foreign citizens which have been stranded around the world. We started to make the cargo flights out of the scheduled flight as anybody else, bringing the necessary medical equipment and let's say the medical tools to help actually to fight with the COVID at that time. And we very closely monitor what is happening in the flight ban and travel restriction, and we've been in one of the first airline which returned to operation on many of the airports, especially in the region. So approximately last week of the May, we started to restart, and whenever the flight ban allow us, we basically restart the flying.
So things are slightly getting better. 2021 is, in your commercial sense, looking how? Have you started selling out charters? Are you still slow on getting back to regular markets because those markets are slow to release their epidemiology standards? So what is the current projection for this year, having in mind these two, the charter business and the regular route business?
Look, especially I think last, let's say 3 weeks, I would call it kind of careful optimism. It was natural that around Orthodox Easter there was a spike of demand. What is kind of positive signals that demand didn't stop by the Orthodox Easter, and we see a bit, let's say, upside. But what I would say is that, like, despite that the travel restrictions are really still heavily in place, and it's kind of sometimes difficult to orientate what kind of, PCR test, vaccination is allowed, where to travel, and so on. And unfortunately, also on majority of our markets, Serbian citizens are still not allowed to enter, basically majority of EU countries. I have to say that through 2020 and even now in 2021, we are performing better, mainly thanks to our fast and flexible reaction to the market. We are currently operating around 40% on 2019 level, where the rest of the European average is around 35, and we are achieving the load factors over 55%, where Q1 majority of the airline groups published they are close to rather 40. So I would say that, I would rather only tell it careful optimism. We are not there yet, and we are not there through. The big question mark for everyone is obviously summer, because still the travel restriction is not in place. The charter demand is there, but the main issue you see is now that all the bookings, including the charters, are happening very last minute. So it's more like still forecasted demand, and the reality will be if it will happen or not. You have also the, let's say, ad hoc events, like, for example, Turkey. When there was complete flight ban now introduced between Russia and Turkey, you have the big question that if all these hotel groups, if they will actually open or not, because majority of their demand disappear from one day to the other. So it's, let's stay with a careful optimism only.
To go back once again to your one of your main descriptions of your posting is that your commercial strategy is there when, for instance, airlines fail, which we unfortunately saw in this region, and then you were basically instructed to react. How did you come up with that plan and that reaction, which we saw on the Slovenian and Montenegrin examples?
Look, I mean, where I'm coming from, in my home country, we have the saying that the luck is on the side of those who are prepared. So it's not about the fast reaction when you see the opportunity, is how well you are prepared for that opportunity in advance. And we would like to position, and we are positioning ourselves as a regional, let's say, leader in the wider Balkan region, or let's say majority of ex-Yugoslavian countries. And we have multiple scenarios which we are always, developing and fine-tuning to be ready for the market opportunities to enter the niches and secure our stronger position in the region. That's the reason why we've been very fastly reacting on the Adria collapse. We actually reacted a couple of days already before, and it was many weeks before first other airlines were taking the opportunity. By the way, also during COVID, we've been the first airline which returned to the Ljubljana on 29th of May. And 2 weeks later, some other airlines came in. Same was for Montenegro in December. We basically always trying to strengthen our position and position Beograd as a regional hub where we want to offer the seamless connection to the region and beyond. So we constantly looking on these opportunities, and we'll take whatever will pop up.
Belgrade as a regional hub, or that concept of a hub-and-spoke system, is often neglected when people are talking about national airlines, especially national airlines that have such a degree of connectivity that Air Serbia has. And your commercial strategy is presumably dependent upon that second tier of traffic which is connecting through Belgrade. you as a company basically contributed to the amount of new passengers that maybe led to the concession happening. So can we touch on that and what is the story behind transfer passengers, connecting passengers, and how is that important besides the guaranteed connectivity that a national airline has?
So look, I mean, typically when you talk about these things, like you have two different business models. You have like hub and spoke and LCC model, where in terms of the product proposition in the last couple of years, you see kind of synergies that, you know, you can call it hybrid, that in terms of the product proposition, ancillary revenue, branded fares, both models are getting very close to each other. However, in the core business model principle, where low-cost carriers will have typical stage lengths of 1,000, let's say, kilometers in order to achieve the best efficiency, rotation and utilizing their assets, they will usually go for direct connection, you know, few frequencies a week and try with a low fare, attract the sensitive demand. However, this will not provide sufficient connectivity to the other, let's say, group of passenger where majority of the region is below 1,000 kilometers. So one core strategy in our hub and spoke model to actually provide enough frequencies and connectivity within the region to attract enough demand to satisfy our also beyond region flights, so basically to majority of the European flights, including the GFK and so on. Because once you get enough volume into your hub and spoke model, it will contribute you that you can grow your region more. You can, instead of one daily frequency somewhere, you can go double daily, you can go triple daily. And your core business, let's say, segment will be the not only corporate diaspora, which prefer more frequencies, but by doing that, you will always have also some seats which you can offer to the price-sensitive customer, which the low-cost carrier goes after. And I think that's the main reason why also we successfully here in Belgrade are able to compete with the low-cost carriers.
The third segment is long haul. The current route is very important for that basic connectivity, which was a mandate from the state, but it also trickles down to the general entire route of Air Serbia. So can you share some interesting points and indirect contributions of the long haul route, which public is not aware often?
Look, I will not talk about the contribution of the routes itself to the country and to even economy of Serbia, because it's fundamentally important to create the connection between the countries, between the economies, and so on. However, from airline point of view and connectivity point of view, we are the only airline which is offering the direct connection year-round to the United States. And it's not only important for Serbia, for the whole region, because predominantly, like wider Balkan region or ex-Yugoslavia countries, we provide very seamless connectivity, mostly, let's say, to Montenegro, to Albania, North Macedonia. We would like in the future to expand this to Bulgaria, Romania. That was also part of our, let's say, pre-COVID announced expanding strategies, which you can serve with multiple frequencies. You satisfy point-to-point demand, you satisfy demand to your European network, and you also provide the seamless connectivity to the USA, because what we believe is very good proposition to the customer. You take short flight, and then you can rest on your long-haul flight rather than backtracking via, let's say, some other hubs in the region, or taking longer flights to some other European points and having like short and a little bit longer flights. That's not so optimum. So for us, it's working pretty well, and we would like to develop that more in the future.
From west, let's go to the east. In a nutshell, your background of reasoning of 4 new routes to Russia. How do you see that market? Air Serbia was also in 2019 quite explanatory in the east. How is Russia doing today, in your sense?
So if you want to be successful, let's say, regional carrier, you cannot just concentrate on your region, because if you are developed with proper frequencies in the region, you need to look also what you will fly beyond the region to offer the connection beyond the region. And obviously, the European markets, we serve majority of the main European markets, and we were also looking for some niche outside of, let's say, our natural, let's say, catchment area. And Russia for us is kind of a very interesting example of that. Not only that the citizens can travel without the visa regime between the countries, but also from these points we were picking up, like Krasnodar in 2019, which was a success story. There is not many other connectivities from that country also to Europe, not only to the region. You had option either at that time via Istanbul or via Moscow, where Moscow is in a way a bit backtrack. So Krasnodar turned very successful. That's why we were planning to makes Rostov in 2020 before COVID. However, it stopped. And now we've been able to announce that not only because it was in our plan, but because we see also now immediate opportunities there, because there is now very restrictive, let's say, flight operation to Russia. It's not easy to get the travel permission. They are limited. Turkish, with the latest, let's say, development, Turkish Airlines, which serve Rostov and Krasnodar, had to suspend the flights. Recently, Montenegro announced no PCR tests for Russian citizens, and always, let's say, the Montenegro and, let's say, Greece was quite famous for those tourists. They cannot still enter the Italy, France, Spain, which are their main markets. So we see their opportunity. We design the schedule in a way to connect also to Montenegro, Greece, Cyprus, and we strongly believe that it will work.
LCCs are spreading across the region once again. They are on and off on certain routes. We saw activity now in Zagreb. How do you respond? We are still immune as a country of a higher penetration of LCCs. How are you feeling them out now? And
look, I think you told rightly, they are spreading in a region, not here. So it's also showing you that if you have the good commercial strategy and you are able to compete with them, you can always find, let's say, the balance, what is good. And I always strongly believe that the locals actually are pushing us further. It's pushing us to become better. When they started, they set really high, let's say, targets, what you should achieve in terms of efficiencies and operation. But what you can fairly tell in last 15 years that their cost structure kind of stayed stable, or in some cases a little bit increased, where the legacy carriers was pushed to improve. So basically, day by day, we are pushed to be better and actually be more competitive with them because our cost structure are getting closer. Also, the product proposition, the hybrid proposition became very close to each other. So we welcoming them because it's a good challenge for us, and particularly like where we can all contribute to each other. If there are new flights open from Belgrade, which are not in our long-term vision, they are bringing new people to country, you have new people to the airport, and potentially we can have accidentally self-connect to our regional network. So we definitely are for.
And finally, you received a COVID-related and COVID-justified state aid, which had some requirements, but you are financially set. What is your general overall COVID impact projection, if we can talk about that just for this year? So generally to conclude that you as a business are stable, but how would you expand if you see the opportunity?
Look, definitely as a business we are stable. I would leave more elaboration on this to our shareholders, but they are committed to support this business because our role during the crisis to support the country in the fight towards the COVID was tremendous, and it was appreciated. In terms of the business, let's say as itself, as I mentioned, we are operating around 40% currently. We forecasting that summer we might be around 45-50, and we believe that this region will recover a bit faster than the rest of the Europe. That's also same way forecasted from IATA and Eurocontrol. It's difficult to say now how the vaccines will be successful, but if the vaccines are successful, we believe that 2019 will return around 23.
Thank you for your appearance here. Thank you for the support, and wish you all the best. Please, everybody, get vaccinated as soon as possible so we can all go back to flying. Once again, Mr.
Thanks again for the invitation.
Thank you.